Is there any property that is exempt in bankruptcy? One of the most common questions we get asked is whether people can keep their belongings if they file a bankruptcy. Whether it's personal property, such as household goods and furnishings, cars, or bank accounts, or real property, being land or buildings that they own. My name is John Friesen with the firm of Gillespie Murphy, and our firm has helped thousands of people get rid of debt so they can move forward in life. The short answer is yes, there is property exempt in bankruptcy. All states and the federal government have passed exemption laws that shield or protect certain property in bankruptcy. Most of these laws apply to creditor actions outside of bankruptcy as well. The best way to explain exemptions is to explain what happened before we had them. In 1916, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather lived in a small farmhouse in the center of Nebraska. My great-grandfather died in the winter, and creditors came calling and took everything the family had, including the canned food they had saved up for the winter. The family literally left with all the clothes they had on their back and went to live with relatives. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, many people had this experience. When their farm failed or their business failed, creditors came calling and took everything that they had. In response to this, the states and the federal government passed exemption laws so people were not left destitute if the worst happened. Exemption laws are generally expressed as a dollar amount. In North Carolina, there are several exemptions, both in the North Carolina Constitution and under state law. Those exemptions include a $3,500 exemption for one motor vehicle, provided that you're on the title to that vehicle, a $35,000 exemption in real property or a building that you use as your primary residence, a $5,000 exemption in personal household goods, and a $2,000 exemption for tools of the trade. There are also exemptions for life insurance and exemptions for income. The way they work is as follows. The $3,500 exemption in its purest form works like this. For example, say you had a car that was worth $3,500 and you did not owe any money on it, and that car was titled to your name. You could claim that $3,500 exemption on that car, and it would be exempt from creditors in bankruptcy and outside of bankruptcy. Say that you and your wife are on the title to that car and you don't owe any money on it, and it's worth $7,000. You can each use your $3,500 exemption on that car and protect that car from creditors in bankruptcy and outside of bankruptcy. The $35,000 homestead exemption works like this. Say you had a house that was worth just $35,000 with no liens on it. You can claim that exemption and keep your house and save it from creditors. If the house is owned by you and your spouse, it's a $70,000 exemption. So if your house was worth $70,000, you could protect it in bankruptcy or out of bankruptcy. Say you have a house that's worth $300,000 and you owe $230,000 on the house. The $70,000 of equity that you have in the house is exempt using those same exemptions. We would be happy to discuss with you at any time exemption laws and how they apply to you and whether they'll protect your property in a bankruptcy or out of a bankruptcy.